Sarah C. Bedford joins us from the Washington Examiner for our weekend review. I was going to talk to you about the fact the supplemental pass is going to the House, but first I got to ask you, what do you think of the odds that Speaker Johnson puts away the Mayorkas impeachment, sends her report over to Jim Jordan, and they quickly pass an article of impeachment and say the president is incompetent and the Senate needs to deal with that? What do you think are the odds of that happening, Sarah?
Much higher after yesterday. I really think that not only is the Mayorkas impeachment going to be sort of tabled, but I also think the current line of inquiry for the impeachment inquiry in the House could also kind of be scuttled by this. I'm not sure how Republicans could pursue an investigation into Joe Biden being like the criminal mastermind behind an international business scheme just a few years ago, and also that he's mentally unfit to serve as president. We have strong evidence of that now. So I think that all of the lines of inquiry surrounding the business schemes that his son and brother engaged in when he was vice president are going to potentially be tabled here, because this is, a much more clear-cut and stronger case for challenging the president or removing the president.
And the appropriate thing to do under the Constitution is to pass an article of impeachment, let the Senate figure it out. I would like to know, Sarah, you're in the Beltway and I'm in California, but last night I was at dinner with friends and we all reacted the same way, which is, oh my goodness, the man cannot stay as commander-in-chief. What did you hear last night from people?
I saw people who have been staunch defenders of Joe Biden, who have never acknowledged any of his mental slips. I mean, some of that decline has been pretty obvious in his public appearances in recent months, but people who have never conceded that he's lost a step, sort of confronting this reality that this is something that is going to be litigated in the election. It wasn't in 2020. I mean, some of these signs of decline were evident 4 years ago when he was running for president, and it's part of why it's pretty clear he ran that sort of basement strategy during 2020 and blamed COVID. And now this tactic of keeping Biden hidden away from the public, not doing a Super Bowl interview, not doing a press conference when a foreign leader comes to the White House, as was the case today and over this weekend, those options, those choices are not going to be tenable for this White House anymore. But the reality is that they can't put Joe Biden out there because he's not capable of executing on a performance. I mean, look at last night. That should have been the performance of his life. The highest stakes public appearance that he's had in the past probably decade was last night to prove his mental fitness. And he still mixed up the names of countries and leaders.
Yeah, let's play cut number 25 if we can.
The hostage negotiation. Look. I'm of the view, as you know, that the conduct of the response in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, has been over the top. I think that, as you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open
stop right
up the
there.
gate.
Most people focused on the president of Mexico, Sisi, which is obviously out there. He's not the president of Mexico. He's president of Egypt, for the benefit of the Steelers fans. But right before that, he said the conduct of Israel in Gaza has been over the top, which is a slam at our ally and admissible at the International Court of Justice. And no one has ever said that anywhere, even when Blinken said they've got to not dehumanize people, which is bad enough. Did anyone in your circle of contacts, friends, DMs, texts say he needs to resign? Because that's what I think. He needs to resign.
I think you're going to hear those calls get a lot louder. And you make a great point, right? That is a pretty significant shift in the U.S. policy toward Israel. If the U.S. position is that Israel is, over the top in Gaza. And I don't think that's the position of this White House. But to have a leader of the United States who says things like that, and it has to be attributed to him, that's just grandpa, to ignore him. What he says doesn't carry any weight because he doesn't really know what he's saying. I mean, that is not a tenable position for the commander-in-chief to just say things like that, and the White House have to write it off. And you make a really good point. That is arguably just as bad as mixing up names, is that he can just say things that are significant, that have significant foreign policy implications, and world leaders just aren't supposed to take him seriously.
Yeah, I know that the International Court of Justice, I don't know if you follow that, They went and took out of context comments by Netanyahu, comments by Gallant, comments by Herzog, who's a non-political guy, and put them into their brief. Their brief will include, I think Israel's been over the top, right? It's just, he's dangerous. He's a dangerous commander-in-chief, Sarah. So how are you going to spend your day? Because it's going to be a wild day on Capitol Hill.
Gosh, I mean, we are chasing down this 25th Amendment situation. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that just a few years ago when I was covering the Trump administration, Trump had a couple of flubs and there was 25th Amendment talk. There was demands that his doctor come out and give a press conference to clear him to be mentally fit to serve as president for far, far less. And I think those 25th Amendment conversations are going to get stronger now.
Better that Speaker Johnson and Jim Jordan get together and they bring an article of impeachment. And they don't need to have hearings. Just the Her report, videotape of last night, vote one article, send it to the Senate, see what they do with it. Sarah C. Bedford on X at the Washington Examiner. Always a pleasure to see you.